It is not your job to do things in your life in order to prove to people who you are. The most important thing is to know who you are. If you're always breaking off to view yourself through other people's eyes, you are not focused enough on how you view you. Hello, my loves. Okay, so let's start with our bevy of the day. I am having a fresh ginger beer today. I've shared my ginger beer before, but I drink the Reed's ginger beer. It is top notch. It is delicious. It's my favorite. It's so spicy. I am a carbonated beverage girl. I do my best not to drink soda. So my Pellegrino waters and my ginger beers do the job for me. This is the ginger beer that I use for my mules when I make my mules. It's so good. It's the best ginger beer in the world. It's so spicy. Nothing compares. Nothing compares. So as much as I was attempting before to do weekly videos, it's just not working out that way. I just don't always have something to share. And I also am doing my best to truly operate as an artist. And when I say that, to share with you guys when I am inspired to share and when I really have something to say. And again, when I have more than enough to share, it's going to be back to back to back to back. But I'm working on growing as an entrepreneur, growing in my personal life. You guys know I'm working on buying my house and moving. Again, expanding the business. So it's not, just YouTube that I'm doing, but I'm also developing products, and I'm doing it all on my own right now just because I want to be really clear about my vision before I bring a team in. I've had a team before and I just wasn't clear about where I was going. And so this part of my life of growth, I want to be clear about my purpose first and foremost. And I want to be clear about my mission and my vision, so that as I add people to my team, I am very clear about what we're doing and where we're going. And so that's where I'm at right now. I am trying to juggle it all. And then on top of that, you guys know that I am a mommy, I am a wife. It's finding time for myself and finding time to pour into the business and into YouTube and you guys. And I'm finding the balance, and I feel really good because I took these last few weeks not to be hard on myself and to really lean into the fact that I did not feel creative. There's this moment that happens, and I think other creatives can attest to this. Like when you have that creative juice, it's like all the ideas start flowing out and you just feel really inspired. And then you have these moments that you kind of need to lay low. You're trying to push the creativity. And whenever I push to create something that is not just flowing out of me, I hate it. Even if the world loves it, I look back on it and I cringe because I know that that's something I forced and it wasn't something that felt good. And that even comes down to these videos. Like there's been times where I'm trying to find, okay, what's the next topic that I want to share? There are times that I'm trying to find and figure out and think on what the next topic is, when that is not how we started here. We started here because the topics that I began with are ones that flowed out of me. It is just like this topic today because I was sitting down during meditation and I was thinking, like, in this last year, it hasn't even been a year, which is crazy. But in this last year, I have grown so much from the person that I was. I've learned myself more than I ever knew myself in my 35 years of being on this earth, right? And I was thinking, like, there are some people who only know that unhealthy version of myself, or should I say that anxious version of myself, or whatever label you may put on it. Like you may say, like, I just wasn't in my best space, or maybe at that moment or during those years you were going through something. For me, and for many of us, I think once we start breaking things down, but like knowing that, oh, it's so cringy, but also let's accept it, right? It makes me sad to know that for majority of my life, where I thought I was confident and where I thought I was showing up as my best self, and situations where I was probably dead wrong and I just knew I was right. There are some people that will only know that version of me. And it just popped up in meditation as I was sitting there and as I was just like reflecting on life, as random thoughts that popped in. And I was like, damn, there really are people who only seen that super anxious version of myself. And they didn't see it as anxiety. They saw it as insecurity. They saw it as me being defensive or nitpicking at things. There were so many versions that people saw that just wasn't my best version. And I had to sit with that. And I had to be okay with that. I had to realize, like, I've grown so far past that, right? And I'm working so hard on myself right now. I'm working I'm working hard at not working hard, if that makes sense. I feel like my whole life I've been trying to be something, trying to be more, trying to like become something, where now I'm working hard at just like, girl, sit down, relax. Don't jump on the trend. Don't try to prove to anybody that you're something different. Don't get defensive, right? Relax in yourself. So right now the hard work is learning to go deeper inside myself, to be okay with her. And it's funny because, again, telling you, coming off these past few weeks of me like just sitting down and I wasn't feeling inspired, allowing myself to feel uninspired and not being hard on myself. That was the hard work for me. I'm going a little off tangent, but like, I love the soft girl era. I love the fact that we can be vulnerable about the fact that we are not feeling strong in this moment. And we don't want to be strong in this moment. We just want to sit back and be who we are and not prove and not have to defend, right? For a lot of us, it is hard work sitting in the soft girl era. It is hard work to just sit back and accept ourselves and love ourselves and listen to ourselves. And instead of moving with how the outside world is moving, truly listening to what our intuition is telling us and listening to what we're being divinely guided to do. For some of us, that is the hard work, and that is my hard work right now. And so I've been trying to balance my time between rest and just doing fun things, pouring into my career, and of course, pouring into my family and my me time. I told you guys a while ago that I was learning the piano. I was on YouTube trying to teach myself the piano, and then also trying to teach myself just different things about being an entrepreneur and a business owner. I came across Skillshare, the largest online platform for creatives to learn different skills, whether it be in your career or just be for a hobby. So as I've been trying to find that balance, I want to focus on my creative part and my career. 2 things I'm focusing on is learning piano in 30 days. I know I'm not about to be out here being Mozart and Alicia Keys in 30 days, okay? I'm realistic to that extent. And then the second part that I'm learning is to create and promote your personal brand with zero experience. They also have personal development classes, art classes, hobbies, rug making, all types of things. So if you're in a space where you're like me right now, you're looking for that balance, you should definitely hop on Skillshare and see if there's any hobbies that allow you to do something just for fun. It's worth a shot, and the first 500 people who sign up with my link get a free month on Skillshare, so it's no risk to you. I really think that you're going to get on and you're going to find something that intrigues you, maybe something you never even thought about doing. So thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video and giving us creatives a path to continue growing. But in addition to growing myself and pouring into myself, I've really just been reflecting on the past. As that thought came up in meditation about how people view me and how people see me, I've realized that we spend a lot of time trying to prove to people who we are. We spend a lot of time trying to prove that we're not that person anymore, or that we are this talented, or that we are worthy, or that we are successful in our careers, or we spend a lot of time making decisions based on how other people see us. And I realized that subconsciously, a lot of us are still holding on to who we used to be. Although we are in this phase of growth, and although we are working to get to a better space in ourselves, we are still replaying in our minds the mistakes that we made in the past, right? We're never going to get to the space that we want to be by focusing heavily on the mistakes we made in the past. Okay, we don't have a magic button. We cannot go back, and we cannot change that. And we also can't change people's minds about who we are. That is a choice that they have to make. I need you to first understand that there are some people in this world that are committed to misunderstanding you. Okay? Now, this is not me putting the blame on other people. You probably did some messed up stuff, right? I know I did. I know in that state of unconsciousness where I thought I was conscious and I was not, I played the victim in a lot of things. I did not take responsibility for the parts that I played in the things that I did, right? So this point in this segment of me saying this is not taking responsibility away from you. Not at all. What I'm saying is you can go your whole life trying to prove something to somebody, and you have to understand that there are people who are going to be committed to misunderstanding you, right? They just don't want to see the good in you. Maybe they had a bad experience and they're fixed in their mind that that's who you are. And it doesn't matter how much you've changed, how much you've done. In their mind, they are committed to misunderstanding you, and they're committed to the fact that that's who you are as a person, and they want to hold on to that. They have the right to do that. That's their mind and their life and their decision. It is not your job to do things in your life in order to prove to people who you are. The most important thing is to know who you are. And if you are working hard to prove to somebody who you are you actually that person? Because the goal is not to prove to somebody that you are a good person. The goal is not to prove to somebody that you are successful. It's not to prove to somebody that you have money. It's not to prove to somebody that you have changed. The goal is to actually change. The goal is to actually have money for yourself. The goal is to be successful in your mind, because you can be successful to somebody else and not successful for yourself. The goal is to actually be the person that you are aiming to be. That is where your focus should be. And every time that you break off and you're looking at how your parents see you and how the person back from college that you had the run-in with sees you, and your ex sees you, and your friend that used to be your friend, now she's watching from the background, that, you know, those people, how she sees you and how good you're doing here. And if you're always breaking off to view yourself through other people's eyes, you are not focused enough on how you view you. Anytime that your focus gets off and you're viewing yourself from somebody else's eyes, it is no longer your vision of yourself. The crazy part is, like, that's how most of us have been living. And even if it's a positive thing, right? Even if it's like, I just want to make them proud, that can be a slippery slope, because what if what makes them proud makes you feel miserable? It's only going to feel good for that split second where you see them excited, but like, you got to live with whatever the accomplishment is, whatever the achievement is, whatever the thing that you committed to, or you have to live with that. And so at any point, if we are viewing ourselves through anyone else's eyes, we aren't being true to who we are trying to be, or who we want to be, who we truly want to be. Now, because personally, I overthink and I replay things in my mind, and I know for a fact that I tend to make things 1,000 times bigger than it actually was. I have a rule for myself. I don't go back and apologize, have a conversation about, or try to make amends with anyone who is not someone who truly knows me. Someone who would give me benefit of the doubt. Maybe they got mad at this situation, or maybe we had a falling out, but someone who at some point we had a deep connection, a deep relationship. They are a integral part of my life. If they are not those people, if they are just associates, you know, someone who was never a close friend, never really knew me, but someone I had a run-in with, you know what I mean? And really an associate, an acquaintance, a coworker. If there's someone outside of like my close people, I don't necessarily go back and apologize unless it's something really terrible. And that, you guys sit with yourself on that, right? If it's something really terrible and you feel horrible and you need to go apologize, cool. But I'm just talking about like being in a bad space and, again, leaving a sour taste in somebody's mouth about your attitude or about the way you handle situations. I don't go back and apologize, because for me personally, again, I make things way bigger. And I found in the past when I have gone back, the person's like, okay, it's not, all right, it's not that big a deal. I just overanalyze. Again, that anxiety just makes me like overthink and replay it. And like, so if it's not somebody that is close to me and I am trying to mend and repair this relationship and make sure they understand that I truly am sorry and I just wasn't in a good space. If it is not someone close to me, I do not go back and apologize. I forgive myself, because I know how far I've come, how much I've grown, how much I've changed, how differently I see things. And because I can look back and say, I know that I wasn't in the best space. I know that for a fact. And I know that that was not intentional. What I did was not intentional. And if it is meant to be, we will cross paths, or that person will see what I'm doing now, or, you know, if it's meant to be. But if this is somebody that's not in my life, I'm not beating myself up and going back and trying to fix all the things. I'm allowed to be a human being. And this is the part where you have to give yourself grace. The people in your life that you feel deserve some explanation or deserve, you know, a little more conversation, then you stay true to that, and only you know what matters to you. Be careful not to teeter-totter on the line of trying to be perfect, of trying to make people see you a certain way. That leads right back to what we were just saying. Like when you are trying to make sure people see you a certain way, you're not focused on who you actually are. Just be that. And we are allowed to make these mistakes and going back and trying to fix it. And I wouldn't even say mistakes. We're allowed to have these phases in our lives. We're allowed to have these phases where we're just not in our best space. That's how we grow. It is only in making those mistakes or, those times, those traumatic times or those disagreements that I'm able to look back and be like, I did not like the way that I reacted in that situation. I don't like the way that I was. I don't like the way that I felt. It's having those times and having those experiences that let you know where you are actually trying to go, right? So let's not get caught up trying to go back and perfectly fix everything. Like, allow some things to be messy because we're human and we're messy. We are. And that's okay. It's such a beautiful part that you can look back and say, I am no longer that. I've grown from that. And that you can do that for yourself and not in trying to prove to somebody else that you are something. So just be okay with being the villain in somebody's story. You're the villain in someone's story, and it's going to stay that way, and that's okay. I already talked about this, but understand that some people are dedicated to misunderstanding you, and you can leave them right where they stand. And I need you to just look inward, and I need you to understand who you are and be sure in who you are and actually be that. That's the part that we are missing, is when you actually are from your core, whoever you are aiming to be and whoever you are proving, whoever you are trying to prove that you are. If you actually are that, you don't feel this need to prove that to people. Be that. Show up as that. And then allow the people that are meant to be in your life right now to flow into your life. Allow what's aligned to come and to be, rather than trying to go backward and fix the past. Take a little sip. We often mess things up more when we are trying to fix all these mistakes instead of just letting life unfold. And trust that anyone who's stuck in a space of no matter how much you grow, they are holding on to that thing. That's a problem that they have. And that speaks more to who they are and where they are in life. Because I can tell you this, with how much I've grown and how much I've changed, there's not many people that I have had run-ins with in the past or negative interactions that I would not be willing to sit down and have a conversation with right now. If that person said, I have changed and I'd love to just chat, there's literally no one I can think of right now that I wouldn't sit down and talk to, because life has a way of changing you and growing you and letting you see who you are. And if you are open to change, and if you are open to accepting your responsibility in situations, and if you are open to accepting the fact that you are not perfect and that there's always room for growth, beautiful things can happen. And so I'm open to sitting with anybody. Who I'm not open to sitting with are people that continue to live in the same cycle, people that continue to live in victim cycle, and a person that thinks they're always right. Nobody is always right. It is okay to say you're wrong. It is okay to realize, again, I just wasn't in my best space, or I had a moment. Me and my husband get into spats all the time where I'm like, in that moment, you triggered me. So now I said something that I shouldn't have said. My bad. I shouldn't have said that, right? Like, it's okay to say that you're wrong. So I won't sit down with somebody that is stuck in the same cycle and plays the same movie over and over and over, the same movie that is not helping them to grow or get out of the situation they either complaining about or that they continue to attract to themselves. But I am always open to sitting with and connecting with somebody who is, wanting to be the best version of themselves. Now, as I was saying, taking responsibility is key. Taking responsibility for the role you played in those situations, right? I think that's how we forgive ourselves. If you're just looking back on something and you're like, I don't know why this person treated me like that. Why these people, multiple people treated me the same way. And all my friends just always want to stop being friends with me. Every ex just left and every family member. And if you keep doing that and you can never find a thread, like, don't get me wrong, there's going to be some people that are just not in their best space, right? They're doing whatever. They're treating people however. Of course, there's going to be those people in that space. But if it's everybody, if it's every friend, if it's every family member, you got to look at the role that you were playing. And it gets a little complicated here because You might have been the villain for real. Like, let's be honest. You might have really been the villain where you were just terrorizing people. And I need you to check that. Okay? I need you to be honest. Were you the villain, sis? Okay? Were you causing the problems? Were you the one with the attitude all the time? Were you being too overbearing? Were you being too defensive all the time? Were you being too serious? Were you in your head and you were spazzing out on people and causing people to want to leave? Like, let's be honest. But there's also another side of this. I fall right in the middle because my anxiety definitely had me like overly defensive, and I was the person that would cut people off immediately. Like, you do me wrong, I don't even want to talk. You know what I mean? Like, and that's unhealthy. That was young mind. That was not long-sighted at all. Because as an adult, I realized, like, I am not going to like what my friends do all the time. I'm not going to like what my mom does all the time. I'm not going to like what this man does all the time. I'm not going to like what my kids do all the time. But I cannot be throwing people away. It doesn't work like that. So I've grown. I've learned. But there's another side of, like, playing the victim, right? Genuinely being too kind and too nice, allowing people to walk over you and then not understanding why. And so, again, I fell in the middle of this because I talked about this in a previous video, but I had a pattern of attracting people that loved my energy and loved the optimism and the empath side of me. And I was very caring and compassionate, and I wanted to fix people. I always had a very unhealthy obsession with, like, befriending the mean girl or going after the guy that no one can tame. And I always had a attraction to want to fix people. Like, I'm like, no, I'm going to be the different friend. They're going to treat me good. I'm going to be the different girlfriend. They're going to treat me right. Right? I didn't know that until I look back, like, girl, you were the problem. But, like, back then I was just like, I'm such a good friend and I'm such a good girlfriend. Why can't they see that? And why are they treating me like this? And why, as a more introverted person, I also attracted people that were louder than me, that were, you know, more aggressive than me. I don't know. I would gravitate towards it. And now I look back and I know that stems from childhood, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother video. But, like, I look back and I was like, wow, you, my friend, were the problem. I kept attracting the same people over and over and over because I was trying to fix something inside of myself. Deep, right? So, seriously, taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is freedom. It's freedom to just be like, okay, I see where the pattern is and I don't have to keep repeating that. I don't have to attract those people. And I mean, up until very recently for me, still attracting that person, still attracting that type of person into my life. Having to really sit with myself and say, this is a you thing. As I've recognized that I'm very intentional about the relationships I nurture, the people I allow in my life. I feel like I used to, like, by default, just allow people into my life. And by default, as an empath, I'm going to attract people that need that want that feed on that. If I'm not intentional, if I don't have boundaries, professionally, personally, in friendships, the boundaries I set within my marriage, in my family relationships, I'm very, very intentional about who gets in, who gets close, and who gets my energy. I wasted so much energy, and I still do to some extent when I sit down and replay things in my mind. It's not to the point that it used to be, and I'm very grateful. But understanding that you waste energy when you replay things back in your mind over and over. And again, this is why forgiving yourself is important. Realizing that if you knew everything from the beginning, what would this life journey be? I know we don't want to run into all the negative things, and we don't want to run into the things that, like, open our eyes about ourselves or about what life truly is and about what really matters. None of us want that. But how beautiful is it that you can look back on something that you did once and be like, I never want to do that again, and that you have the power to not repeat that again and to make a different decision. That is what I hope we will do. We can't focus again on the mistakes we made, who we are in someone's eyes, but we can look and be like, I'm not going to repeat that again. Y'all know my favorite line, it's easier said than done. I can say that, and then when we're in that situation, it is so much easier to do what we did 1,000 times than to do this new thing for the first time, to take this new path for the first time. Instead of responding, barking back, being defensive, you walk away. You end the conversation. You don't respond, right? You don't get defensive, and you take a breather and you realize, that was more about you than it was about me. Being able to do that for the first time, and the second time, third time, fourth time, it's still hard. But I made an analogy in one of my videos about when you are trying to change those neural pathways in your mind. Neural pathways, I like to put them in layman terms of like the habits that you have, the reactions that you have, right? The ways that you have always reacted to something. It's so much easier to go to that. Your whole body reacts and wants to do that, right? If you're used to screaming and yelling and cursing somebody out, ooh, the urge that comes up to just curse somebody out, right? But then you look back on that, and are you proud? If you're proud, leave this video. Go curse these people out. Do what you gotta do, sis. I told you I am a supporter of people doing what is in their hearts. If this is the path that God has for you, is to get people in check, go do your job. But if you leave those conversations and those situations and interactions and you play it back at night or the next day or the next week, and you're like, oh, why did I let myself get there? I don't like the way that I looked in that situation. I don't like the way I reacted. If you have any point of like, I don't want to be that anymore, then you have to change that. And the first time that you react differently is going to be the hardest time. And the second time is still going to be hard because, again, you've reacted this way 1,000 times and you're only on your 5th time of trying to react like this. So it's not going to be automatic, immediate, just because you made a decision in your mind, just because you wrote it down, or just because you did it the last 5 times. Remember, you have these 5 times up against these thousands of times that you've reacted in this way. It is going to take time. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And you will continue down that path. And so, again, saying all this to say, responsibility, taking responsibility for the way you played into those, for what you allowed, or the way that you reacted and took it to the next level, or the way that you poured fuel into the fire. Looking back and taking responsibility is such a huge, huge first step in forgiveness, because it's like, I see what I did there and I know I can do differently. It's not about changing people's perception of you. It is actually being the thing that you want to be. Working on that first, work on you. And usually all of this is behind closed doors. It is without an audience. You don't have to explain it to people. I did that for so long. Always explaining to someone why I was changing and what my next move was and what I was going to do and who I wasn't going to be. It's like, just be it. Can you master it first? Master it for yourself first before you're even talking about it. Giving yourself time to truly grow into these things and be the person that you want to be. Being that person is going to prove everything you've ever wanted to prove. And if you slip and fall, you get back on the horse and you do it again. Okay, you are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to have a past that is not perfect. You can't fix and change that. But what you can do is own who you are right now, own the decisions that you are making going forward. I don't have steps like I normally do because I think this was just an eye-opener and almost permission for whoever needs it to let go of what they think of you. The thing that saved me the most, and I mean within my relationship, within my career, and how I feel as a woman, is I stopped trying to prove things to anyone outside of me. It's easy to want to make my husband proud, my mom proud. It's easy to want to do things for them. But I became the happiest and I became the most calm when I began to truly prove to myself that I was who I said I would be. In the moments nobody was looking. Am I going to do the work that I said I'm going to do? That is what matters the most. Who are you when no one is looking? We underestimate how much it means to make ourselves proud. We underestimate it because we don't often focus on that. We often focus on doing the best when everybody's looking, right? Being the cleanest when everybody's here, when everybody's at your house, straightening up and wiping down things and like everything's pristine, having perfect manners when people are around, you know, like wiping your mouth and you're eating delicately and you're whatever that thing is that's popping up in your head that you may do in front of people when no one's around. You're just like dropping all the habits and just being whatever. Like, it's fine to be all down when you're by yourself, but what I'm saying is when it's habits that really matter to you, habits that you are really trying to implement, you will be so shocked at how proud you are and the confidence that you actually feel when you do those things when no one is looking. And it becomes a habit when no one's looking, because at that point it has become who you are. And now you're confident because you know that's who you are. I remember reading Tab's book. She gave this analogy where she said she was a kid. She wanted to go outside. So she stuffed everything under her bed. She wiped around the counter. She wiped around things, but she never picked up the things and like wiped them, whatever. And she's outside and her parents call her in. And, you know, they went and did a check. And they see whatever's under her bed. They see the dust under the things on the counter. I don't know what the exact words, but her mom basically said, if you had cleaned it up, there'd be no mess or no lie for us to catch on to. There'd be nothing for us to find. And she related that to life. If you are doing what you need to do, there is no lie for you to be caught in. There is nothing for you to prove. Because the proof is in the pudding. You are that person. That's what you do all the time. That's who you are all the time. Right? And so if you are actually showing up as who you want to be and doing the things that you say you're going to do, that's who you are. And that confidence shines. It's from the inside out. You can't fake that. And people feel fake. They feel when you're trying to con them, when you're trying to be too perfect, when you're trying to be who you are. Be who you truly want to be. And then there's nothing for people to find. There's nothing for you to prove to people, because that's just who you are. I hope that all made sense. And it was something that was sitting on my mind and sitting on my heart out of meditation. And I wanted to share this message because I know there's so many of us who are focused on our past, and we're focused on what people think, and we're focused on outside opinions. And just want to remind you that what you think about you and the way that you view yourself is the most important thing in the world. And I know it sounds cliche. None of that outsideness, none of that noise matters, because who you are when you're alone and when you go to sleep at night, that is the most important thing. How do you feel about yourself? Ask yourself that question. If there's any step here, it can be, how do I feel when nobody's looking? I hope you enjoyed. I hope you took something away from this. If you loved this video, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and you hit the notification button so that you don't miss any new videos. And until we meet again, keep living in love, in light, and in your truth. Mwah. Bye.